Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the webinar today. We're going to be talking about gamification, so hopefully you're in the right place. Before we get started into our content on gamification, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction into your host, which is Nividous Software Solutions. Nividous has been in business for about 6 years and is currently operating across 3 different continents and serving in multiple verticals, delivering all kinds of different software solutions. The co-founders of the company started out in the BPM space as well as product engineering, but over time the company has done a wide range of different kinds of engagements. Obviously, if you're interested in finding out more about Nividous and its offerings, anyone would be happy to give you that information after this webinar. So let's review what we're going to cover today. By the way, my name is Alan Hester. I'm the president of Nividous Software Solutions and your host for the day. Hopefully everyone will find this informative, and if you don't know or haven't heard much about gamification in the past, this will give you an overview and hopefully give you a sense for how it might be important in your particular business. And if you're already an old hand at gamification, maybe this will give you some thoughts about how you might be able to do more or do things differently. So we're going to first start by talking about the need for gamification in the workplace, talking about unengaged employees. Then we're going to look at a case study with a mortgage call center. We're going to give you a quick high-level overview of a gamification framework that Nividous has developed and give you a quick demo of that, give you the opportunity to ask some questions, and then a quick wrap-up. Really a couple things to let you know about the platform that we're using. This is a platform called Livestorm, which is new to us, and I'm guessing it will be new to many of you. So it will be different from many other webinars you have attended in the past in that you don't really have the ability to interact with us via audio. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask, on the right-hand side of your screen, you have a tab called Questions, and you can enter in your questions there. We will get those questions, and then in the question and answer period, we will cover whatever questions that we received. The other thing worth noting is that there is also a polls tab there, and at various points during the webinar, we will put up polls and allow you to respond. So just as an example, I posted the first question for you to answer, which is, are you currently using gamification in any way within your company? And you can reply to that, and it will keep a tally of how people in the audience have responded. So moving forward, one of the challenges in the workplace today is that a lot of people just go to work every day and aren't really engaged. So there was a study that was published in the New York Daily News in 2015 that said 70% of your payroll is going to people who aren't engaged in their jobs. And this statistic is in the US. For those of you outside the US, you're actually in even worse shape. Outside the US, they're saying that 13% of the workers are fully engaged in their jobs. What having disengaged employees means for your company is that you have a lot of problems with some of them are highlighted in this graphic, but I'm sure you're familiar with what it means to your company if your employees are not engaged. They're not going to be as productive. You're not going to be able to grow your business the way that you would like to. You're not going to be able to drive the kinds of customer satisfaction that you would like to achieve, and you will have all kinds of different problems. So what's needed to improve that situation is thinking about things a little bit differently. So the typical approach that we have is to, create a great environment and have people come in, do their work, and be happy to get their paycheck. And in many cases, that's enough. But there are some cases where the kinds of work that your people are doing are not that exciting. And maybe there are repetitive tasks that they have to do over and over again. And it's hard for them to stay focused on it. It's hard for them to stay productive. So thinking about this a completely different way leads us into talking about gamification. And what gamification is, it's not about having people play games at work. I think this is a common misconception that people have. And a lot of people think, well, I don't even want to talk about gamification because I want my people at work working. I don't want them to come to work to play games. And that's exactly what gamification is all about, is to engage your workforce to the point where they want to do the work and therefore they're producing as much as they possibly can. The way that it does that is it uses a lot of elements of gaming. So it uses competition and scoring and badges and a lot of different things that you would find on games that you play on your iPhone or iPad or computer games, but done in the setting of the workplace. So the work that they're doing is integrated within the system. And you'll be able to understand more of that as we explain the framework and also go through the demo. Now I'm going to pass things off to a couple of guys who were kind enough to join us from Freedom Mortgage, who are going to be taking us through a case study of how they are starting to use gamification at their company to drive employee engagement and productivity. So I'll first introduce Mike Arroyo Young.
Hi, Alan. Hello, everyone on the phone. It's my distinct pleasure to be able to meet with you guys today and talk about something I'm pretty passionate about. Just to kind of give you a little context about Freedom Mortgage, we are the #1 VA lender in the country. We, depending on what chart you look at, we're up in the top 5. Depending on sort of who you're looking at, we vary within that group. We've grown in the past 3 years from an origination standpoint about 196%. So we've gone through a lot of scaling and growth pains. And what does that mean from why is gamification important in that context? When you have to hire a bunch of people because of time deadlines and, we're in a very interest rate driven environment, it can be hard to form a community. It can be hard for folks to really understand the company culture at first. Traditional management techniques don't really address one other thing that I think Alan alluded to earlier, is that when you're customer facing, your job can be hard, literally, based on your interactions with those people. Some people are mad, some people are angry when you get them on the phone. And psychologically that affects, employees. I've seen it firsthand. Just to let you know what I do within the organization, I'm a VP here. I run a PMO and process improvement team along with my colleague, Adil. And so anything that's strategically important to the call center, we get our hands into. And I've recently wrapped up a project working with what we call the pre-gate process, where it's really essentially handling the handoff from the loan advisor to the customer. And this group really kind of walks them through certain things on the loan, signing certain disclosures and things of that nature. That job is not easy. I think that typically upper management looks at that role as just sort of, pencil pushing, just get it through, not really taking into account that, there are people on the other side of that. There are people here within the organization, and there's people external to us that we have to deal with. And what I'm so excited about, especially with gamification, is that if you design it right, and that's a big if, really understanding the process, understanding the data, the key performance metrics, what you want to achieve through gamifying the process. I mean, I can't overstress that, because you want your game to align with your performance goals. So you really have to understand what it is you're trying to build. But if you can master that, it opens up a whole new realm of possibility. Coupled with sort of where we've gone from a technology standpoint with BPM, business process management, automating these workflows, gamification runs hand in hand with that. So it just lends itself to that type of interaction. And what I really am excited about is that you're able to drive stretch goals. You're able to really push the workforce, but not in the traditional way where you're just hounding them. I think people like games. We like to kind of be engaged in things. And when you have a job that is repetitive or it gets boring, it's nice to have an abstracted layer of reality on top of that process, so that folks can just focus on the game. But while they're focusing on the game, they're actually focusing on work. And I think that's the power of gamification. And I'm excited to see how far we've come as an organization from kicking the idea around as theory, and now we're starting to move into actually getting requirements done and actually moving that out into the production floor. So, I think the future is really bright in terms of how technology and game theory can intersect and drive new production goals. And sort of that's where what we've been focused on. And so with that being said, I wanted to, hand the mic over to Adil, who's been really critical and key in understanding the technical aspects of gamifying a freedom culture here. So Adil, can you take it from here, please?
Yes. Hello all, this is Adil Basit, and I am PMO Director at Freedom Mortgage, as Mike introduced. So you heard about the concept of gamification, why it is needed. So as a case study to start using those concepts, we try to identify a possible role who can be targeted for our gamification. So the candidate was loan advisor. Why? Because our focus is basically on origination, and we will be calling customers, our borrowers, and loan advisor is the first person who will be communicating with them. So having said that, what sort of performance matrices are important for us to make loan advisor more engaged to our business, and in the end generate more revenue for us? So the key performance indicators was availability. Why it is important? Because if borrower is calling us and loan advisors are not available to take their call, that will be a bad customer experience, and definitely it will impact our revenue as well. So there should be some sort of games which needs to be identified there, which can enable loan advisors to be more available to take the calls. Number two is productivity. Yes, loan advisors are there, we have the workforce, but again, if they're not producing at the good rate, this will impact our business as well. So we need to make sure that we can identify different scenarios which can target productivity of those loan advisors, and which will definitely increase call center business and with increased application volume. So if they're available, they're producing what they should produce. The next thing is quality, which is conversion ratio. So they can talk with the customers, they can create new applications to proceed further. But if those applications are not good enough to be closed, so we need to find some scenarios over there as well to reduce the noise. After the app is received, we need to increase the closing revenue, because if we are providing the correct information, that will be increase in the revenue, and definitely it will be a better customer experience if we have limited touch points with them during our whole journey. Ellen, next slide, please. Loan officer availability. For this, the objective was to ensure employee availability during the business hours. So the criteria which we have came up with is that loan officers with the most availability out of scheduled time gets rewarded. So our target was, instead of 8 hours, 5 to 5.5 hours. So we are saying that if a loan officer is available for this time period during the week for their schedule, it will definitely increase the availability matrices. So the rules. So we have identified that what sort of statuses we need to identify within our systems. And then once we have defined that, how to identify their durations of availability. Once it is determined, we will be determining their daily average hours for loan advisors based on weekly data. We have a strong set of reporting which we are using for this. And then based on all these information, we will determine our top performance and then benchmark this data for future reference. So for example, for the first run, if we are targeting 5 to 5.5 hours, and then we identify that our top performers are performing around 6 hours or 7 hours on average, or maybe 3 hours or 4 hours, we need to set our targets accordingly based on this benchmark. What sort of benefit we will receive from this? The loan officer will be motivated to stay logged in because they are seeing that their work is being considered, their work is being reviewed, and they're being rewarded of whatever they are doing. And at the other end, the customers, whenever they are calling, they're receiving, the call is being received by someone, and then they don't have to wait in the queues for the long time. Think about those times when we are calling some company and then we have to wait for longer times to get to some person. So if the availability is there, that time can be reduced. Next slide, please. Productivity. So objective is to generate more business from available workforce. It is one possibility that we can increase the number of bodies to get more applications. But again, that's not ideal if we don't have enough input for them. So we need to incentivize the workforce based on their productivity targets. Again, these targets will be benchmarked based on our availability targets as well. So this loan officer with the most apps in a given week gets rewarded. We are talking only about numbers. A person who can take 200 apps in a week, he will be rewarded the most. So that benchmark number will come in. The rules, we are determining the productivity based on our daily loan count for loan advisor based on our set of reportings. We are identifying top performers with most applications. And then again, we are benchmarking the data for future references and forecast. What sort of benefit it is giving to us is loan advisors are motivated to complete more applications. And to convert their time into more applications, they need to make themselves available. So these two matrices are connected to each other. And if they are making sure that they are available and then they are producing the results, they will be rewarded. Next slide. Conversion ratio. This is quality aspect. So they were available, they were producing what they were supposed to produce. Now we need to identify that what are the possible areas which can be impacted downline. So for example, once the app is received, we need to send it out to our other departments who will take that application. They will review the documentation. They will consult with the borrowers. They will require documentation as well. So if we are not giving them good applications, they will not be able to convert them into loans. So we need to improve that piece as far as the quality is concerned. Secondly, speed. Definitely, there's a lock period involved with the mortgages, and also the closing needs to be done as well within the time frame, so that improving efficiency of our process and then speed from app to gate is very important. And then improving processing for operations with quality applications, provide the quality information and then get the quality out of the operations as well. So what we came up with, the matrix which we used was loan advisors with the most apps which were gated correctly will be rewarded. We identified the IDC completions for the loan advisor as a rule. We determined their weekly percentages for initial disclosure complete date and loan counts for the loan advisors, and then identify the top performers and then benchmark the data for the future forecasting. The benefit, so the loan officer will pay particular attention when they are doing the applications. They will fill the correct information. They will generate the quality documents. And then our speed from app to gate will be increased. Our revenue will definitely increase with an increased number of closings, and it will definitely result with a better customer experience in the end. Ellen, so up to you now.
Okay, thank you, Mike and Adil, for that view into what's happening with gamification at Freedom Mortgage. Now, one of the things to keep in mind, actually a couple things to keep in mind about what Mike and Adil have talked about. Obviously, Freedom Mortgage is in the financial services space. We understand that many of you are not in financial services, but I think you can easily draw some parallels between what they're talking about and how that might apply in your particular situation. So this is just intended to be representative of the kinds of things that a technology like gamification can bring to your workforce, no matter what particular business you're in. The other thing that's important to note is that Mike and Adil are on the business side, and this is an important part of how gamification can be most effective. And you'll start seeing this come to life as we talk about the framework and how that works. So if we start at the center of the drawing here, the target platform space in the middle, this represents all of your existing legacy systems. And we've thrown a couple of logos out there for things that we know some of you are using, but maybe you don't see the things listed there that you use on a day-to-day basis. That really doesn't matter. What platforms you're using today, all of them can be leveraged for a gamification. This is just a representative sample of some of the ones that we have worked with so far. And as you build out from those platforms, there are connectors that are a part of the way the framework works that will allow all of those existing systems to interact with the elements of the gamification engine itself. So on one side, we have interaction between the system as well as those legacy systems and the people who are managing it. So in this case, that would be Mike and Adil. This would be the people on the business side in your company that are involved with figuring out how they're going to use the gamification platform to motivate your workers. So it's things like setting up the goals that you want them to achieve, defining the games and the rewards, and then monitoring all of that as you start rolling the games out so that you can fine-tune it in order to get the maximum benefit out of it. And then on the other side of the equation, we have the participants, the people who are workers, employees in your company that are doing the work, that are going to continue to do their work, but they're going to be involved now with interacting with the gamification framework. And it's going to become a natural part of their everyday work. And the way that it's going to motivate them is the ways that we've already talked about, which you will see more as soon as we get into the demo. Leaderboard and game monitoring is one of those ways. This is just a representative view of what it could look like. In your company, you may choose to do it completely differently, but one of the great things about this is that there's tremendous amount of flexibility to configure the way this works without requiring a whole lot of code changes and software redevelopment. All of the graphical elements you see, as well as the goals themselves, are within the control of the business side stakeholders that run the games, the people that were on the left-hand side of that previous chart. The only time when you need to have any development work done is when you're integrating new platforms. So if you think about the center of that circle, if there are new platforms or legacy platforms that you need to work with, obviously there's going to be some setup that's involved in getting those platforms to work with gamification. But once it's set up, then it's easy to run games and continue to use the platform and put the power in the hands of the business side users from that point forward. And then what this gives to your workers, the end users, is they're able to get real-time feedback on where they stand. They can see where they stand both against their goals that have been set for them and also against their coworkers. And you have the ability to, depending how you plan to implement this within your company, you might choose to have these leaderboards out for public display in addition to just making them available to people on their own workstations as they use it. And then obviously the other important part of it to the worker is they're building towards something. So the way it works is you have the ability to earn these badges, but then you can also build up points to earn different kinds of rewards. And these could be rewards that have a monetary value, or it can be some other kind of reward like time off or some other incentives that you choose to include as part of the program. And then the last piece is giving the managers the ability to monitor how their workers are doing, how they're engaging with the system, how this is in fact driving productivity and engagement among their staff. So as we've already talked about, the power is in the hands of the business side to configure the games, set them up, define the goals and the metrics and the rules for how the points work, the badges and the levels. All of that is really within the hands of the people on the business side. Now, one of the things that you might ask yourself is, well, what if the people on the business side aren't that creative and they can't come up with all this stuff? Well, there are some things that can be defined out of the box, but that's where someone like Nividous would come in, is to help you through that process. So don't worry if initially you think that people would struggle with figuring out how to leverage the platform to begin with. I think there's a little bit of a learning curve for everyone, except maybe for millennials, because they're kind of grown up thinking this way. But for most of us, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to get to the point where you're truly understanding the principles and know how to design the games appropriately to maximize the results that you're going to drive out of it. And then the last piece that we already talked about is the integration piece. And like I said, don't be thrown off by these logos. If you don't see up here the platform that you work with, that doesn't really mean anything. Just about any platform out there can be integrated within the gamification framework so that you can leverage it to drive productivity in your particular workplace. And if you have specific questions about specific platforms, we would be happy to talk through that in greater detail with you later. Now we're going to go right into the demo, and I'm going to turn this over to Ashish, who is the Director of Engineering for Nividous. But I just wanted to also give you a quick reminder that if you do have questions at any point during the webinar, feel free to go to the Questions tab on the right-hand side of your screen and enter those questions in. And then when the time comes, we will go ahead and try to answer those for you as time allows. So I'm going to remove the presentation that you're... Ashish, are you there?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I was on a mute, so sorry for that. Thanks, Ellen. So here I'll going to demonstrate the Nividous Gamification Toolkit. But before I go and get into the demo, let me have a quick introduction. What is
If
it
you are
about?
talking, Ashish, I don't think that anyone can hear you because I cannot hear you.
Yeah, I hope I'm better now.
So
Yeah, I hope I'm better now. So I'm continuing with the demo. So so here, as Alan has mentioned earlier in his slides, the
apparently we're
framework.
having some technical difficulties on Ashish's side because I'm not able to hear him. I've gotten confirmation from a couple of you that you're not able to hear him either. So what we're going to do in the interest of getting through the content and being able to get the maximum value out of this time for you is I will let Ashish continue to work on whatever problems he might have on his side that are keeping us from being able to hear him. And I'll cover some of the material that we were planning to do at the conclusion of the session. And if he is able to get things together, we will resume the demo and let you see that when he's up and running. So we don't really have, let's see what we have here. So we do have a couple of questions that I can go through. The first question, I guess there's a couple questions regarding how the framework works, the gamification framework works, and what kind of service package comes around the framework. And I think this is something that that Nividous is very flexible about this because we're really a services company. We're not a product company. So it's not our desire to sell this gamification framework as a product per se. It's not something that we plan to throw over the wall to anyone and say, here, take this and run with it, because it's really the kind of thing that's going to require a lot of work and customization in order to get it up and running. Obviously, the integration with all of your existing systems and or legacy systems are a very important part of the process, and that's all going to take some work. And typically, even if you have your own IT staff that is able to do that, you might require, at least initially, some help and guidance in getting that set up. So the answer to the question is that there's not a set answer, and it's really on a case-by-case basis to be able to analyze what your situation is and what would be appropriate. And once we have an understanding of the systems that you're using and what you're trying to do with gamification, that's when we can come up with a more formal answer of what would be appropriate for you. I know that's kind of a wishy-washy way of looking at it, but the reality is everyone's business environment is different. And so there's no way to come up with a canned answer to that question. So let's see if Ashish is online and ready to go now.
Yeah, hi.
Ashish, are you there?
Yes, Alan. I hope I am audible now. Alan, am I audible now?
I am still unable to hear you, but apparently some people can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Alan, I'm going ahead, and I hope I'm audible to others.
Well,
So
apparently
I'll
this
just
is
going
one
to
of the
share my
problems you
screen.
get when you go with a new technology platform like Livestorm. It has some really nice features, but I guess those nice features don't do
So
you a whole lot
I'm
of
going to,
good if they don't all work correctly.
yeah. So I'll go ahead with the presentation for the demonstration of the Nividous gamification toolkit.
So
So
what we're going to do is we're going to let Ashish
as Alan
continue on with his demo and finish it out for the benefit of those of you who can hear him.
Yeah, so as Alan mentioned earlier in his slides, the Nividous Gamification Toolkit allows an organization to gamify their enterprise platform. The platform could be Doodle, BPM, Salesforce, or even for that matter, even Jira. So let me give you a quick walkthrough and a demo of the Nividous Gamification Framework. I will first walk you through what the end user sees in their game profile. The game profiles are available to all the end users who are participating in the games. So for the purpose of the demo, I have configured the PPM platform and gamified loan refinancing and account opening application running on the PPM platform. I'll not go much into the details of this application, but from the financial services company point of view, these processes are very important and it has some repetitive manual steps such as the data entry of the loan or the account opening for application forms again. And hence such financial company may have hundreds and thousands of data entry operator, and the volume and the quality of this data entry are both very critical for their business. And hence that becomes an ideal candidate for gamification. So I'll go ahead and I will log in into the advisor. So here I am going to log in as an Barry, who is an agent and who does the data entry job. So when I log in, so I'm logging in. So as I logged in, I have an option. I can go from my main profile to my game profile. So I'm already in the game profile. So note that this game profile, what we have seen here, is can be integrated with any enterprise portal of the targeted platform, be it BPM, CRM, or LMS. In this case, we have logged in into the portal of BPM. So as we can see on the screen, we have three widgets. So first, I'll quickly give an walkthrough of the process leaderboard. If I see that the process leaderboard, so if we have configured it more than one platform, all those platforms leaderboard would have listed out here. As you can see that the Berry is currently participating in the two application as in game, as in loan refinancing and for the account rewarding. I'll come back to this page once I just quickly cover the reward streak. So on the left hand side, if you guys follow my mouse, so I see the reward streak. So the reward streak is nothing but an important rewards that Barry has eligible to redeem based on the point he has accumulated. So currently, based on the point he has accumulated, he's about to be eligible for camera, and these all are configurable. And I'll touch upon this in a meanwhile. So and then besides the streak, I have a trophy icon. When I click on it, it toggles it. It is nothing but the view and the badges, a view of the badges or the medal which Barry has attended. As you can see, the Barry has attended 5 blue badges, 2 bronze badges, 2 white badges, and 1 gold medal. These are the honors that users has attended in a different games over a lifetime while achieving the certain level in the game and stay with the game. They get configured along with the games. So I'll come back to this leaderboard, and currently the leaderboard is showing the 2 BPM applications for which the games are configured and the Barry is participating. It shows the points that Barry has earned through the games configured for this application. On clicking of the application, I can see the leaderboard. On the clicking of the application, it expands and show all the games that Barry has participated along with the point he has entered and he has earned, and as well as his ranking for each game. On clicking of this ranking icon, it expands and shows the leaderboard for that particular game. This can be an expanded further, but the currently it shows the top 5, including Barry himself. On clicking of the game, it shows the point in the descriptions of the game, and clicking on the point, it shows the point system through which the Barry has earned the point. So in this case, the Barry has earned loan document verification point system, and he has got around 1200 points in this. Now there is an option, and after accumulating this point, there is an option where we can go ahead and redeem this point. So I'm going to go to the redeem screen to just have a quick view of it. So now I'm going to the redeem screen. So redeem is it lists all the rewards that are available to the user in a shopping cart like an interface. User can select the rewards based on the points they have achieved. I'm going to quickly select a couple of rewards and the interface clearly shows how many points I'm about to redeem. So this is available points and added for a redemption. So let me go ahead and say, okay, I want a coffee cart. Okay, then I have, okay, $100 cash voucher. Yes, this is interesting. Yes, so as you can see, the system, the interface clearly changes. It says that we have added redemption point 1350 and what are the balance left out. So this is how this redemption works out. Let me go back to the game profile again, as there's an important widget which I have not talked about yet. So on my right, I see that what's happening now. So in order to simulate the competitive spirit of the game profile shows what's happening now. This is nothing but the real-time social feed of all the users who are participating in the game. And it just talks about what they have recently done and what they have achieved. Like here I say the brand Renault has won white badges and got 200 points for account onboarding. Currently, this is not configured for it, but if required, this can be configured so that users can comment on any one particular comment or on all comments. So this is what the game profile is all about. So now I'm going to log out as an Barry and log in as a process owner or a game admin. So let me allow to log out as an Barry. So in order to configure the games, as I mentioned, I need to log in as a user who has a game admin right or a process owner right. Give me a couple of minutes so that I can just explain what the process owner role is. Here, I'm going to log in as an Alice, who is a loan underwriting process owner. As the process owner, Alice sees that he doesn't get an expected speed of for the loan data entry activity, which is currently at around 20 minutes per application. So in order to improve the speed of the data entry, he thinks of incentivizing his team by gamifying its process to motivate the data entry agents. So now I'll go ahead and see how quickly I can configure the grid. So here it is. The moment I logged in, I got a different interface as because I logged in as a process owner. I have an option to configure the platform, configure the games, and reward. Just have a quick look for the platform configuration. As I already earlier mentioned that we have already configured the BPM platform for the gamification. And since we have gamified the loan refinancing and the loan account onboarding process. So this is the configuration wizard where we can see how it can be configured, how the metadata is being loaded, then how the business variables is being loaded into the system. So in the interest of demo, I'll just go ahead with the reward configuration, what we have seen. So whatever the rewards we have seen on the redeem screen, it's all configured to the very user-friendly interface where I just need to put in the reward names and points and its icons and that's it. And then I'm all set with the reward configuration. The major time I'm going to devote for configuring the game itself. So now, as an analyst, I wanted to gamify the loan underwriting process, and my goal is to improve the data entry, the data entry timings. So I will go ahead and basically the game creation is a 6-step wizard, wherein it captures the different aspect of the game. So as you can see on the screen, I see the first tab is in general, wherein we capture the metadata of the game, like its name. So I'm just going to enter it. I can put some description over here, and here I can set the activation time for this game. So I'm going to go ahead and select some date for an activation. So during this period, the game is an active. So in a nutshell, during this period, whatever the game rules I've defined is going to qualify for the point calculation. So as I've done the initial metadata, now I'm go ahead and select the elements. So in elements are the platform and the application which I wanted to gamify. So in this case, since I am on BPM, So here we can see that the system is configured, the system can configure with Salesforce and Ruby. So here I'm going to select the BPM because the analyst wanted to gamify its loan underwriting process. So here I'm going with the loan underwriting process and I'm done with the elements. Now here, since we have configured the elements, now it's the time to define the game goals. And I can do that from the goal tab itself. There is an, I'm just going to create, quickly going to create the goal. So as on my screen, I see that there's an option of single activity and multiple activity. So single activity is kind of a single activity I wanted to have an goals on. Multiple activity is like if I have an approval cycle of 2 or 3 steps, all 2 or 3 steps can become as a single business unit and we can set a goal for it. So here I'm going to quickly create the loan data entry goals. So I'll say that and the activity which I wanted to gamify is loan activity, and the single activity it is, as I already mentioned that as an analyst, I know that my current efficiency of putting and doing a data entry, it's around 20 minutes per application, which I wanted to set it, or I will bring it down to 15 minutes. Sorry for that. So now I just set my goal here, and that's it. I'm done with my goal. So now since I have set up my goals, now I have to set up the point system. The point system is basically the rules which allocates the point for the data entry in this case. So as I mentioned earlier, for the each goal, we can have a multiple point system, and there's a reason to it. For example, for the analyst, so his agent does both types of loan data entry for a home loan as well as an auto loan, the vehicle loan. So the points he wanted to allocate based on the business he gets out of it. So I'll go ahead and create a point system based on the loan type. So I'll say that my point system is home loan point system subscription. Calculates home loan time. And my goal is an optimization for a loan data entry. And I wanted to set and filter. This is my rule. I wanted to say that if my loan type is home, assign a user who completes the loan in 15 minutes with the loan type home, assign him or her as an 1500 points. So I'm done. So I have set the 1 point system. Now I wanted to set another point system, which is my vehicle. And my goal is the same. And again, I'll say that, okay, home loan, which is a type vehicle, assign points. Yeah, and now I'm done. I have set my goals and I have set the points for it. So my next step is to set in levels. So what are the level means? So level, it means to motivate the game participants. It's associated with the points being accumulated and more rewards get unlocked as an agent progress to the higher levels. So I'll go ahead for the levels. So the system by default gives the 3 levels, which is beginner, intermediate. If I want, I can change it, but I'm fine with this level. So I'll go ahead and I will set up the badges. So badges are visual representation of a point which represents the achievement in the context of your proficiency within the gamified, in this case, loan data entry. So I'll go ahead and I will set up the badges here. I wanted to set up a model and I will start. Okay. Okay, my goal is an optimization tool, and I say, okay, for the beginner level, I want this. Okay, let me go ahead and set up a badge for intermediate level. And okay, I'll select the icon for it. selected. Now my goal, I'll select this. This time my level is needed. Sorry. Now I have selected my final badge, which is my gold badge, and the icon for it. Okay. Now go. Good. So now I'm done with my game configuration, and I'll go ahead and save this game. Yes, I'm going to save. So now Alice has set up the game for his process, and in order to motivate his loan agents and see how they are performing, because and the agent will also feel a sense of more motivated, more engaged into their business. So and now, so in the purpose of the demo, I'm going to log out as an Alice because I'm going to log back as a Barry and see my profile. But before I do that, let me run a utility which is going to simulate my loan underwriting process instances life cycle. So it's going to basically mimic the loan underwriting life cycle by completing some random loan instances so that we can see the loan data at release game, which Alice has set up, and he sees that against for each of his agents. So I'm just running my utility, and it will complete the instances. So yes, here it is. It's completing it. Yeah, my period is done. So again, I will go back and arrange because that's an agent rule. So let's log in quickly. Here it is. So now I am logged in as a Barry, and I see on my screen. So yes, my loan underwriting is showing up here, and I see that okay, against it I have accumulated around 2,500 points. That's really great, and I can see that yes, it's the data entry league against which I see this, and my rank is 3 out of 15. Then I'm doing good in that case, yeah, and I'm standing third in my leaderboard as well. Fantastic. And as I can see on my reward sheet itself, earlier Barry was actually about 10 eligible for Canberra, but now he has got around 4,200 points. So he has crossed the Canberra music system and full day off. So he will probably will go with the music system for himself. And yeah, and I'll go back to trophies, and I can see that yes, he has a 1 gold medal, one silver medal, and 2 bronze medal. Now let me see that how he's got populated so many interesting. So he's completed 1 home loan point system, yes, against which he got 1,500 for the vehicle loan, which yes, Alice has set up for the 1,000. And on the what's happening now, yes, I can see that. Yes, the other participants of the game as an agent, they have also completed and they have also got this medals and badges along with the various information he sees himself as well as the others. And I can still see these my earlier, even if I, and this is completely configurable as I mentioned earlier. We can put it in and we can configure it to have the user can comment like how we do it in the social media. And if we wanted to put it in more details, we can go it from here and go it into a separate application. So this is how this gamification. This is how this. I mean, this is how the analysis configured the game, and his agent started motivating it. And this is what this. It's so easy and quickly it is to configure it, and like because as a process owner, he himself did everything. He doesn't need any help from any IT or any other because he knows his business. He just went straight ahead and gamified it, and he started seeing the results. So now I hope I'm done with my demo, and now I'll hand over to the other. Thank you. I'm stopping my screen.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ashish. And what we'll do now is quickly, I know we're running out of time, and I apologize for our technical issues eating into our time, but just a reminder that if you do have any questions, please enter them in the question tab on the right, and we will try to get to those, as I said, as time allows. Obviously, we've only got 4 minutes left now, so get your questions in. But if you have questions that you feel are unanswered, or if you come up with additional questions after the fact, maybe you'll watch the replay, have some questions, feel free to reach out to myself or anyone else at Nividous, and we'd be happy to get you an answer. So one of the questions that has come up is around people gaming the gamification. And I think this is a term that everyone is familiar with. When you incentivize someone, especially when it has to do with some kind of financial incentive, often people will find ways to game the system so that they can maximize the amount that they're going to earn or make using the reward system. And a lot of times that involves taking shortcuts to the actual work itself. And so, you know, an example is your productivity might improve, but the quality goes down. So the question is, how do you do a good job of balancing that? And I think it's really specific to your company culture. I think you have to know your people enough to know what's really going to motivate them. And sometimes it's a financial reward, or sometimes it's something totally different. As I mentioned, it could be something like a day off, or a preferred parking space, or the ability to work from home. I think the possibilities are endless in terms of what kinds of things you might be able to offer. And it's really up to you to figure out what's going to work best, and also what will prevent the negative effects that you would get if people are just trying to maximize their rewards without regard to how they actually do their job, because that defeats the whole purpose. So it's 1:58 right now. I just want to breeze through a few other slides here to wrap up. And as I said, the questions we did not get to, feel free to ask them via email, or reach out and give us a call, and we'd be happy to respond to those. But the high level idea with gamification is keeping your employees engaged, enhancing the customer experience, improving your employee retention, your customer satisfaction, and overall improving your business outcomes. Then the final thing really is that if you're interested in gamification, trying to find a way to get started, and you don't really know how to do that, feel free to reach out to us. We conduct half-day gamification workshops where we can help you figure out what parts of your business would be best suited for gamification, and how you might be able to leverage it in order to really engage your employees